I had no idea how it got that bad. All I knew was that I was there and I had no idea how to get out. But I knew it was bad.
I would say vaping's harder to give up.
Jesus! You are joking. Oh my God.
No, I'm being serious.
Shepherd's pie makes me happy.
That sounds premenstrual. This episode contains strong language and discussion around addiction, body dysmorphia, and adult themes. Okay, welcome to this week's edition of Listen, Boo.
You're gonna have to face it, you're addicted to love. I wish I was only addicted to love.
You don't.
Yeah, it's an easy addiction. Love, whatever.
You're winding me up, innit?
Yes, I am taking the piss.
There's literally a Sex and Love Addictions Anonymous. It's a serious issue.
I think it'd be better than smoking.
I don't know, man. I think it can really destroy people's lives.
And welcome to this week's theme. The theme is addiction.
Addiction.
Oh, addiction. That naughty little bastard. We're going to talk about dirty addiction and dirty secrets today. But, not all addiction is... That's actually the point. Addiction isn't dirty and it shouldn't be a secret. It's something that plagues so many of us and has definitely lived in my life in a myriad of ways. And I can't wait to hear how it's affected all of your lives too. Let's have our first question for this week's Listen, Bitch. The theme is addiction.
Hey, Miquita and Jordan. My question is about whether there is any addictions that are good. Is there ever an addiction that's okay? Because asking for a friend, I've realised recently that I may be addicted to charity shopping. I think I just love the validation of buying something, it being a bargain, and I don't feel as bad when I'm getting that validation from a charity shop. I don't feel the same way as if it was from a normal shop. And I realized I've even started lying about being at the charity shop to my partner. And that's when I really thought, maybe I'm addicted. So would love to hear your thoughts on whether there is ever an addiction that's okay to have. It's for charity. Is that all right? Or are all addictions bad addictions? Please help me. Lots of love from Eve from Sheffield.
I, as the second-hand clothes ambassador for Oxfam, was quite deep in my charity shop love from a very young age to about a year ago when my cousin came round and looked at my wardrobe and was like, your wardrobe is full of shit you don't need. And I was like, how dare you? 90% of these clothes are secondhand. Everything here I love. And then when I moved into this place, I threw away 10 to 12 bags of complete shit. I had like the same holy navy jumper times 10. The same short little mini skirt that I'd got tailored to this. And I was like, this is actually hoarding with a nicer jacket on. This is still hoarding. As you can see, look at my wardrobe, Jordan. It's like curated, simplified, diversified. I threw out so much shit. And there's something so good about making space for the new. Not just new clothes, but just make space in your life for anything new. So I would say kind of be careful with your charity shopping because it's for good and because it's cheap. It can be very easy to overindulge and overdo it. Not the most serious addiction, but I have been there.
It's not, but look, I think it's easy. I mean, part of me wanted to be like, you're being ridiculous. I highly doubt that if you were to be told that you can no longer charity shop, that it would have like a particularly detrimental effect to your livelihood. But I then caught myself because actually anything can be an addiction, genuinely. And then there might be something tied into whatever the feeling is that is elicited from going into those stores. I would say though, as far as addictions go, it's probably all right. As far as they go. And to answer her question, I wouldn't go as far as to say a good... I'm not sure you can say good addiction. I'm not sure...
Well, what about when we got addicted to exercise, when we were training with Mackenzie?
I was just going to say that, actually, and that was very damaging to me in the long term.
What, when we started training with Mackenzie?
Yeah, I developed body dysmorphia.
Really?
Yeah. I can understand why someone would be like, addicted to the gym. Great, fantastic. But actually what the issue is what did I say about things being promised in life? Things change all the time, and it can't always be guaranteed that you can go to the gym or go to the gym at the same time, or maybe an opportunity comes up in life or it's harder to get to the gym or whatever else. What happened to me was I transformed my body in about 4 months, which was wild to me. And I was on these set meals and I was eating 4 meals a day, and I was playing football and I was cycling and I was going to the gym, and I felt, I mean, for anybody who does do gym a lot, the endorphins are crazy. It feels amazing. I felt incredible. I was cycling through London in like 40 minutes, 45 minutes from east to west. It was west to east rather.
Finding that strength in your own body, it's beautiful.
Yeah, loving it. But what happened was I rolled on my ankle in a football match, and I did something to a ligament in my wrist, or tendon in my wrist, while training, which meant I couldn't do anything. And suddenly I had this massive appetite, being that I'd been eating 4 meals a day, but I had no chance to offset that, and I had no way of adapting. So what happened in place was I started to panic that I would reverse all the good work I'd just done on the basis that I couldn't really exercise much.
Right.
And what happened is, now I think I have quite a healthy relationship with the gym, because I know why I'm going, and I've got muscle maturity, and I've been going consistently rather than just intensely, right? Because like, you can burn yourself out. It's really dangerous going too much. But what happened was, in that time, I developed a tick almost, where I would, maybe tick's the wrong word, but I would check my muscles and I would pinch my belly. I'd hold my belly fat. This happens a lot with everybody, but I know that with men it maybe isn't spoken about as much.
Yeah.
Within the male community, we are probably more obsessed with being trim than it surpasses the perceived desire of women. It's really like a self-contained obsession.
Yeah.
So I was like pulling at my stomach, and just to say what I mean is, even once I'd passed that, it would flare up whenever I got anxious. So now one of the times I know if I'm really anxious is if I start grabbing my body, because it's just a lingering memory of that first feeling of a loss of control. So if I feel like there's another loss of control, I grab myself.
And in those days when you're grabbing yourself, it's like just to check. Like nothing's changed. It's still,
Yeah, just to see have I put on any weight? Have I have I lost that muscle? And then there's another thing, which is orthorexia, which are people who become incredibly specific about what they eat and what goes in their body, which again, in balance is good. 80% of the time, being conscious of what you're eating is a brilliant idea. But if it affects your ability to socialize, to relax, to, enjoy certain things, like, then you got to start asking yourself, can you adapt? Can you change? And that's really hard. The harmony. Yeah, it's hard. Listen, it's hard. I still have these issues now.
Especially when you've been addicted to something. That's like what you just said, that being addicted to something you know is good for you and trying to turn it into something that doesn't become unhealthy. That's a fucking head fuck.
Yeah. Well, me and Mackenzie talk about this all the time. There's a real presence in gym culture of people not knowing how to put things into a balance, just to balance things a little more, rather than it becoming a crutch. When
I finally did lose all the weight that I wanted to lose, which I guess was the journey I started then with me, you and Mac and Grimmy training, that was like, 10 years ago? Yeah. No, I was like 28.
Yeah, 12, 13 years ago.
Like 12 years ago, yeah. And that was because I had a job coming up. I'd got the job to do V Festival with Channel 4, and it was the first job I got since bankruptcy. So I was like, I have to show them that, and not just like do my job well, because I could always do that, but I had been messy and overweight for a long time on screen, and I was sick of it. And you know what though? The production company asked to see pictures of me. They were like, we want to see how she's looking at the moment.
Wow.
And that was really hard. I was like, fuck, I've got this. It wasn't even like a photo shoot. Naima came around to take a few shots of me, but I had 3 weeks till she was doing that. So I went to see Mackenzie like sometimes twice a day. Because I was like, if I don't look slim enough, they're not going to give me the job. Or they're going to say they're going to revoke the job.
Oh, babe, I didn't realise that was one of the motivators.
Fuck yeah.
I thought you just stopped drinking wine.
No, but I couldn't stop drinking wine.
But you did.
A bit.
You did stop drinking wine and you went...
Yeah, and then I went... But that was this, yeah, God, addiction.
I've got plenty more to talk about, but we've got lots to get through.
Can we have another question, please?
Hi, Miquita and Jordan. I'm not going to tell you my name just because of the nature of my question. Why do you think alcohol in British culture has been put on such a pedestal? It's so agreed that it's okay that we can go out, we can get slaughtered, you can go to the shop, you could buy as much alcohol as you want, and the cashier would probably say, oh, you look like you're going to have a fun weekend, instead of somebody saying, why have you got 5 litres of vodka in your basket? In the work environment, you get women that says, oh, I'm going to go home and sink a bottle of wine. But if I turn around and said, oh, I'm going to go home and smoke a spliff later, I would be frowned upon, lose my job, be viewed as like some kind of down and out degenerate of society. But I can go home and get myself absolutely pissed up paralytic, and that would be celebrated. I don't know. I find it a bit bizarre. What are your thoughts? Thank you.
Listen, unknown caller. I'm going to jump straight in here, Keats. As a sober man of 8 years, I agree wholeheartedly with what this woman is saying. And I think the short answer is because the government makes money off it. It's massively taxable. I'm probably sure these alcohol companies lobby for certain allowances. I mean, the fact that alcohol is even in any sort of relationship with sport blows my mind. Like, blows my mind that beer is allowed to be marketed via football, as if there's any relationship between beer and, like, other than people going to watch it, getting too drunk and probably I don't even know what. But there's 0% stuff now, which I actually love.
Yeah, but this is like what's happened with weed in America. Now that they've found a way for it to make money for the government, it's marketed, it's, it's within the higher echelons of society.
I had a fling once with this. Maybe I shouldn't be specific about it. Anyway, I knew someone who lived somewhere and her dad, she said to me as a joke, like, she was very much, it seems like she was okay for money, but she said, my dad is the biggest drug dealer in Colorado. That's what she would say to me, right? Eventually I visited her mansion somewhere in America, and I realized that the second that they legalized marijuana in Colorado, he already had a functional and hugely spanning marijuana farm. To answer the question before we move on, I agree that alcohol is over glamorized. I believe I will fall down the rabbit hole. I think it's done because it keeps a certain element of the population subordinate. It takes the body days to completely recover from alcohol abuse, and so for some people they've literally not been in a state of recovery, obviously unless they've been pregnant or something like that
for decades,
for a long time of their life. Yeah, and then they know all this. They have all the statistics, the data, drunk driving, domestic abuse. All of this is exacerbated by a binge drinking culture, and they still are allowed to market and have all of this market share. I'm very positive about 0% alcohol. I love that as an alternative. Yeah,
you said something to me once that really stayed with me, which was like, alcohol's such a lie. Was it alcohol such a lie? Or, I don't know.
It's a scam.
It's a scam. This idea that it's like us at our happiest and most joyful and having the most fun. It's a fucking scam. And I think for me, the times when I've stopped drinking, or again, I'm looking at stopping drinking again at the moment, you have to tie yourself, you have to drag yourself away from an idea of yourself. And I think that drinking culture is just something that happened because of what we were told about what alcohol could mean to our lives. But it's not just about the addiction to the alcohol. It's like, but this is how you have a good time. This is how you socialize. This is how you chat more shit. Yeah. All right, let's fucking have another question. So Jordan, why don't you ask for it in this beautiful safe space?
Can I have another question, please?
Hi guys, it's Becca from Oxford here. Loving the podcast. My question is around vaping. So as a mother of a 12-year-old, vaping is one thing which concerns me the most. I think young people today are well aware of the dangers of smoking, and I think smoking has become less fashionable in a sense, but it's just been replaced by vaping. And actually, in many respects, I think that vaping can be more dangerous than smoking in terms of how much more socially acceptable it seems to be, how much more appealing it is to children in terms of the variants that are produced with all the colours and fruity flavours, and the fact that people seem to do it anywhere and everywhere all the time. Do you think vaping is more or less addictive than smoking?
Just to be, my short answer, I don't know how much of a smoker you are, but I've done both vaping and smoking, and I would say vaping's harder to give up.
Jesus! You are joking. Oh my God.
No, I'm being serious.
I just asked Kelly, because Kelly doesn't drink anymore. and never smoked really.
Wow.
And then she just stopped. She hasn't drank for years, but she vapes and drinks coffee. She basically said coffee and vaping have taken over those parts of her addictive personality. So maybe, do you think that maybe the addiction lives in us, like, and it just needs to, like a fucking monster, it just has to clutch onto something. Like, it's like almost like it needs a space to exist in and just gets transferred.
One of the craziest aspects of my recovery is that I've never been to a meeting. Wow. I've never been to AA or NA, mainly because in the initial parts of my recovery, I was still smoking weed. For me, I found it helpful to experiment with things like mushrooms. So I couldn't have gone to AA because they're very strict about not engaging with psychoactive substances, which I actually don't agree with that part of recovery. Prescription drugs seem to be okay, even though, you know, I get prescribed speed basically for ADHD. It's methylphenidate, which is literally meth without supposedly the addictive component, but I would argue that too. So why I'm saying this is I have friends in recovery and they've told me, and this is brilliant and this has stayed with me and I'm glad he told me this, that what they describe as you are, one of the things is we acknowledge that we are addicts. So I am an addict. I'm an addict as like that's part of my existence and it's manageable, right? That's not something you accepting, you know, not being in denial about that is really important for a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah.
As part of being an addict, one of the analogies they use is it's being like 6 bins with 5 lids. So it's what you're saying. So like in the space of being able to curb one, you're obviously leaving another bin open to another. So really our responsibility is finding the forms of addiction that best complement our life and keep us in a state of health.
You can't ever just throw all the bins out.
My grasp on addiction is so much healthier than it used to be, like it genuinely, and I'm far from perfect, but I keep saying that, but I really mean it.
No, but I like being near you, especially on holiday. You seem free.
The giving up the smoking and vapes was by force, by accident. I stayed me and Jay went away on a holiday into the jungle in Mexico, and it was a smoke-free.
You didn't have your vape charger.
It was a smoke-free hotel, and I didn't have a vape with me, and my cigarettes, you know, you're not allowed to because you might fucking burn the whole thing down. And then every night we went out, the tobacco shops were shut. I bought a cigar, but didn't realise you had to buy like a cigar cutter and a fucking all this shit.
That's addiction trying to find a way. Then I bought a cigar.
Yeah, trying to find an equivalent. But what happened was I ended up going into some form of rehab. I was in this hotel for 10 days, came out having not had one puff of anything, and I was like, well, fuck me. I better stick to this, and I've not smoked ever since. But I do have a lot of willpower. That's something that I find different to other people, because if I think something isn't working for me and it keeps harming me, I have to change it. I have to.
See, that's what I don't have. That's the I don't have. Yeah. I need that. I'm very determined. And if I could focus on letting things go in the same way that I focus on acquiring things, I'd be very free and powerful.
Yeah.
The reason I started smoking weed again 5 years ago at that period of time was because I was suffering from this condition that I have called trypophobia, which is a really weird thing to describe. And it affects me so much that I don't even really want to talk about it. It flares up basically. And it was flared up to a point where I couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
A friend came to see me and I was like, maybe I just need some alcohol. And it wasn't working. Alcohol wasn't working. And she gave me a spliff instead. And it just went away. And I can't tell you the peace that I found.
Yeah.
And so for the next few years, I did smoke weed to support the fact that I had stopped drinking and that I was training every day and that I wanted my career back. But I still wonder now how much I really needed the weed, or did I just use it as a replacement because I was giving up something which is such a big thing in my life, which is drinking alcohol. I was just going to say true freedom is to not need anything. To not
freedom
need
is the absence
it.
of want.
Yes. This is what I mean, and that's what we'll call the episode. Freedom is the absence of want. Absolutely. I just want this. I need it. But it's like, what do you need? Very often we just fancy things and, I could do with a bit of, but what do you actually need?
I certainly haven't moved. I'm an addict. That's, my dad's an addict. I'm not sure about my mum, probably.
Nice.
But yeah, but the biggest issues I've had from that has been emotional addiction, which is something that doesn't get spoken about a lot. I get completely hyper-focused on thoughts it will almost become, I mean, sometimes I described actually it to Harley, who struggles with OCD, and it actually reminded, I definitely don't have OCD, but it reminded him when I was explaining my thought pattern of what he genuinely struggles with. And I only have it in small doses, but I think it must be some kind of flare up of that. Like I say, that's the bin without the lid. It latches onto your thoughts about sleep or thoughts about a person I spoke to last week, or, you know,
Right.
which a lot of people live with that, but that is still, if I'm unable to pull myself away from it.
It's quite handy for a podcast, though.
It's great for a podcast.
It really works.
Yeah, this is my new drug.
That's right. Will
Arrest me.
Miss Me could be your new drug. I like that.
Let's go to a break.
Okay.
Remember, you can listen to every episode of Miss Me on BBC Sounds.
Last week we talked about grief and grandparents. Very miss me.
Shout out grandparents. Shout out the elders in our society.
We had a good time talking about them.
The Traitors is back, with a twist. This series sees this bunch of famous faces take to the castle for the ultimate game of trust and treachery. Join me, Ed Gamble, and the banished and murdered celebrities as they spill all the secrets from the Round Table on the official visualised podcast, The Celebrity Traitors Uncloaked. Watch on BBC iPlayer and listen for more on BBC Sounds.
I would love to break my addictive habits. Do you get it? Let's break. Anyway, welcome back.
Let's have another question then.
Hi, Miquita and Jordan. My name's Sarah, and I'm coming to you from a town called Kiama on the southeast coast of Australia. On the topic of addiction, I understand how deeply complex it is. I know it comes from a place of illness, coping, impulsivity. But recently I've gone through my own personal experience with someone very, very close to me struggling with addiction. And it's been incredibly challenging trying to reconcile that understanding with the emotional reality of losing trust and feeling deep pain myself. Have either of you been on the receiving end of someone you love struggling with addiction? And if so, how did you navigate supporting and understanding them while also protecting your own well-being and processing your own pain? Thank you. I love the podcast and value both of your perspectives every week. So I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you for asking that question, because when you said that your parents were addicts, or that your dad's an addict and you didn't quite know about Emma. Yeah, we come from addicts too, me, Phoebe, Naima. There's a lot of drug addiction throughout our family historically. And that shit's very real. Strangely, my mum's not really an addict. She likes to rave and she likes to party, but she's never, where my mum's addiction has always been is food.
Yeah, I was about to say that, but that's a very common addiction.
And she said something to me so deep once when I was like, fuck. She said, food addiction is one of the worst because it's something that you have to have. Like you were talking about earlier. Yes. You can't just go, well, I just won't eat food anymore. You have to learn how to balance it in your life.
I think I would argue, this is what I'm saying about spiraling. I would argue this is the biggest issue of our times, because not only do we need it, the worst forms of it are actively pushed to us every day of our lives, on every corner, on every advert, not every advert, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it also comes down to scarcity. And I used to get it with alcohol and my mum used to get it with food. I mean, we've both done a lot of great work with our addictions, separately and together, I suppose. Yeah, when I was really bad, when we went to, I was saying on last week's episode that I went to our Uncle Stuart's funeral, and it was in Richmond, and it was really strange to go back to Richmond because I hadn't been back there, I realised, in 6 years. And 6 years ago was when I was going out with someone and I was in a really bad relationship, and I spent a year and a half to 2 years wandering around those streets of Richmond, high, drunk, out of my head, falling asleep on street corners, falling asleep on bus stops. I mean, it was really, really bad. And I never told anyone. I didn't tell my mum. I didn't tell my friends how bad it had got. And this abusive, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive relationship, I was just hiding in it. So to go back to those streets and actually walk the streets of my past addiction was quite interesting. It showed me how far I've come and showed me to stop being so hard on myself, because I have actually changed a lot. And I can find it really easy to go back into, I haven't changed. I still am a victim to all my addictions, and I'm really not. It took a fucking hell of a lot to get out of that spiral. I was drinking wine for breakfast. Like, that was a really, really bad time. Really bad. And you never know how you get there. You don't even recognize yourself. I had no idea how it got that bad. All I knew was that I was there and I had no idea how to get out. But I knew it was bad. And I couldn't remember how it got there. It was just suddenly I was an alcoholic.
Was there a moment where you thought, I've got to change? Was there a conversation you had with a person, or was there an experience where you thought, I guess you still do drink.
Yeah, but not like that.
But was there a point where you had to think?
Yeah, I moved out of where I was living and I broke up with that person, and I moved into a new flat, and I was on the river and on the marshes, and I was high up again, and I was like, this is your chance. You're 35. This is your last chance to clean up your life. And I did.
Yeah.
Stopped drinking for like 8 months.
That ties into what I was going to say, because, to answer the person's question, the idea of helping someone through recovery is incredibly difficult, because it can be very disappointing to begin with, because like as you say, watching somebody fall foul to what appears to be like just logic, plain logic, well-being, incapable of taking advice. I find it the most difficult actually with love. A lot of people end up in clearly unhealthy relationships and will not listen to a single person.
Oh, right.
As its own addiction. This is something that I'm not sure someone will talk about, but I see people end up in relationships because they are addicted to that immediate feeling, the honeymoon phase, which is a chemical high, like your brain elicits whatever that chemical is. A lot of the time I struggle to pull people away from that, but actually it's kind of not my role. So I think the hardest thing to do with an addict is accept the reality that ultimately they're going to have to come to that decision by themselves. And it's our responsibility to create a compassionate boundary. And a compassionate boundary, for what I believe to be, which it would be very painful to receive, but I would be thankful in the long run, is knowing what I need as a person who's not going through it. Right. Making that clear. And if that boundary is crossed, then the consequence occurs.
My friend right now is doing that. She's in continuously to this terrible, nasty piece of shit. I have stopped saying anything, because it's going to make it worse, and it's going to make her what's it called, like stick her heels in more and be more defiant about it.
Yeah, that tends to happen, and they'll distance themselves and isolate themselves.
Yeah, well, she's already doing that.
You've just got to be there. I've
found it quite helpful to not talk about it, but that's very different to someone being in like a drug and alcohol addiction, I suppose, when you're trying to help them.
Well, no, because this person is, if they're in a close relationship with them, the only difference is that there might not be a choice to not engage about a certain thing. It's like everybody is entitled to make clear to those they care about what they require in order to feel loved. Everyone's entitled to that.
Right.
We're talking within reason here. So if a requirement of that is a certain level of presence, a certain level of conversation, a certain level of curiosity, humor, like all of these aspects of all types of relationships, not just romantic, if a person is unable to, then you are not, I don't believe that you're required as a person to continually give a side of yourself with just being met with pain and difficulty. I always go back to, this is a massive issue in the world, I guess, but we just have to find a space where we can support them without that being at too much of expense of ourselves.
Yes. When it was me, my mum, even if she had got on a fucking train and come to Richmond and picked me up off the street, I wouldn't have stopped drinking for her. I had to want to do it myself. And in turn, when I started this new regime, like me and my friend said, we're not going to drink, we're going to train every day. And we really did.
Yeah.
I didn't talk about it with loads of people. And I think that changed it as well. I didn't make it this thing that I was doing to impress everyone and really hope I could pass with flying colours. I was just fucking fed up and done. I was boring myself. And that's also sometimes when you just go, enough.
Another thing, so the compassionate boundaries, that's more of an immediate thing. But one thing I don't think we speak about enough is every single person can show up for another person struggling in a sense of community. And this is something that doesn't happen a lot, especially with something like food addiction, right? We don't have to tell another person what they should and shouldn't do with their lives, but we can model that change ourselves and do it near the person. We can show them without any pressure or any judgment what that means. And if we care, we'd be prepared to. So for example, if I knew someone close to me was wanting to feel healthier, Would I turn up to their house with unhealthy food? No. I would make it a joy to turn up with something that I enjoy that would support what they're trying to do, rather than push them into a place where they're struggling to fight against the change they want to make. If someone wants to quit alcohol, find fun ways to exist in an alcohol-free space. If somebody wants to get out of a relationship, we can ensure that our desire to have a good relationship can reflect back onto them. We can model that change. That's something I think doesn't happen enough. People will not feel as if they should have to change anything about people they care about. That baffles me. Like you would never turn up to somebody who is addicted to heroin. You wouldn't just invite someone doing heroin to the house and go, yeah, well, they're doing it. You don't have to. You'd never do that. So why don't we think the same about like our phones or food or exercise?
Yeah. Let's have the final question of what I believe to be a deeply fucking educational episode of Miss Me. I mean, listen, bitch.
Addiction, I'd say, is a sweet spot for me.
You really know your shit.
I've done a lot of therapy. I'm well equipped on addiction.
Why don't you ask for the final question in your today's seminar?
Can I have a final question about one of the biggest issues in my life, please?
Hi, Miquita and Jordan. This is Tony from Petswood here, 62 years old, father of 3, and loving your podcast. So I have a couple of addictions. One is first thing in the morning, I have to have a cup of tea, and then followed by about a jug of coffee. I could never do coffee first, that would be madness. And secondly, end of every meal, if it's a savoury food, I have to have something sweet, like chocolate or a bit of ice cream. But if I had some cheese after that, then I would have to have sweet again. So I always have to finish on sweet. Just wondering if you've got any light-hearted-ish addictions. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Well, I don't, but Jordan's girlfriend seems to.
The sugar, honestly, the savoury and sweet thing is out of this world. I mean, but
is it like him where it's got to follow, sweet's got to follow savoury?
Yeah. What's mad for me is, if I'm being completely honest, is that I remember when this was first proposed to me, like in the first years of me and Jade together, like first year, maybe second year, it was like, oh no, you have to eat something sweet after something savoury. Like, and I remember thinking, what are you talking about? Like, surely it's a case by case basis, like depending on where you are, what's in the fridge. Like, I was growing up with me and my mum, like we'd have dessert a handful of times a week. It wasn't like,
I know, who has pudding? Come on.
It wasn't something guaranteed every night. But these guys guaranteed this shit every night, whether it's even a chocolate bar or whatever. But what's so funny is like, I found myself like maybe 4 months ago, like eating something at late, like in the evening, and thinking, well, I've got to have something sweet now. Oh my God, how did that fucking happen? I don't even believe this shit. I can't even believe it. So I'm not even sure if I'd call that a light addiction. I think that's just a cultural norm. It's like a push.
Do you know what it is? It's your mum and my mum are a bit like crazy cats. And it feels like Jade's family are quite traditional. And I think it's just quite traditional.
Look, I've said this before, but just put it in perspective. South Shields, a beautiful town. Love spending time there. Did hold the record for the most Greggs on a single high street.
Wow. How many did they have? Because there's 2 around here.
Fuck knows. 5? I don't know, but they love pastries. Look, there's a northeasterly warmth to comfort food.
It's the coldness, thank you. Yes, same in Scotland.
But the irony is, Norma makes a banging. Oh fuck! I've forgotten what it is now. It's like a chicken vegetable soup. It's really healthy. Anyway, she makes it really well. This is like one of the things she does, but she just doesn't make it for herself and other people that often. But I love it. I absolutely love it because it's just chicken and veg, and I feel amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
But the savoury and sweet thing, I think it's a cultural thing. I wouldn't even call that a light addiction. It's just what's so funny is our personalities essentially are stories that we tell ourselves until we believe them, and at any point we could just tell ourselves a different story. But we don't.
I lived in my story this week. I was like, I need comfort food. I'm going to make a shepherd's pie from scratch. Shepherd's pie makes me happy.
That sounds premenstrual.
No, I was fuck you. You made me. Let me check my app. I was like, I need a shepherd's pie. And the ritual...
Can you check your app, please? I need this, sorry. Can you check it?
No, I don't need to check the app. I know I'm premenstrual. But it's that like 10 days before. It's that you don't understand. It's like you're premenstrual
I don't.
for 2 days before, but you also get this weird midway thing, which is what I'm in, which is like pain. Shepherd's pie.
No, I hear it. I see it. I hear this stuff with Jade.
But what I'd like to say is, even drinking wine for breakfast and living in this fucking chaos for those years, it wasn't the alcohol that was killing me. It was the secret, the lying to everyone around me, lying to myself, lying to the world, lying to my mother about just what I'd done that day over and over and over and over again. That is what was killing me. And I think that's when addiction becomes really dangerous, was when it's mirrored by all these secrets.
And I think one thing I'd want to say, because I have recognized from talking to people in my own experience that I have been blessed with this bizarre willpower. It kicks in at a certain point. I mean, I'm definitely privy to self-destruction, but I'm aware that I'm very lucky to have that.
It's amazing.
But one thing I want to tell people or remind people, I still struggle with a lot of shit, but I really do. In fact, like new things like insomnia and stuff has just popped into my life. But one thing I will say is, and I think because of how life and technology and society has progressed, a lot of things are easy now. And so that initial discomfort that comes with making a change, we'd rather just not do.
Yeah, we'd rather satiate ourselves with baby food and Instagram.
I fear that we're creating an allergy to that immediate discomfort. Like this is a bizarre analogy, but maybe people will get it. Similar to when people pass their driving test and they want to go on the motorway. They think, no way could I ever do that. Then you do it 4 times, 5 times. And then you do it so often, you forget that it was a fear. You forget that you were ever scared. So for example, with this guy, if he did for whatever reason want to go, I don't want to eat sweet things at late at night anymore, which he doesn't need to, by the way, he sounds very happy. But like, if he did, yes, the first week is going to be uncomfortable. You're going to go to bed thinking about what sweet things you could have. And then one day you won't.
And then you're free.
One day your brain just literally a neurological pathway in your brain does this, like that. And you go, oh, I don't need that anymore.
What did we tell ourselves and when? Like, when did I tell myself, I just like red wine? I like drinking red wine at night on my own. Like, when did I tell myself? That's what I had to do when I stopped. Not just stop. Ask myself when I even started this conversation with myself. Oh, I'm a drinker. When? When did you tell yourself that? And that was the craziest thing about stopping drinking for that time and changing my entire life, because it really did change very quickly. Yeah. It wasn't that I had overcome my addiction to alcohol. It was that I wasn't who I thought I was. I wasn't who I told myself I was, and that was fucking exciting. And it was very uncomfortable in the beginning because it wasn't familiar. But everything that we want or everything that we want to become is always on the other side of everything we're most scared of. Yeah. No more teachings. I'm taught out. We're so lessony right now, but we've thrown out some whoppers.
No more. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to go and have 17 coffees, 5 croissants, my newest addiction. Croissants. I'm going to have 5 fucking croissants.
We're going to go dive into our latest additions to addiction. No, I think we've taught ourselves a lot. I learned a lot today. Thank you, Jordan Stevens, my greatest teacher of all time.
No, not really.
No, but you're up there. You're definitely in the room.
Great. I love that. I'll take that.
Alain de Botton and, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder is a modern prophet. I'm the greatest musician that ever lived.
And guess what? He was probably bored when he wrote some of his greatest music. Like, it's okay to be bored as well. Talking about addictions to phones.
That's interesting.
Boredom is not something to run from. Maybe sit in it, see what happens.
So that will be the end of our conversation around addiction.
Yeah, that's that done.
Yeah, addiction's complete.
I'm done with that addiction. I've completed that addiction.
Complete addiction.
Boredom is next week's subject. Next week's theme.
Yes.
Please voice note your questions to 08000 30 40 90, 08000 30 40 90.
See you then, cowboys and cowgirls. Why did I say that?
I'll see you then, you boring bitch.
If you're affected by addiction, eating disorders, or mental health issues, visit bbc.co.uk/action line for support.